Have you ever thought about who truly shaped the dark legacy of Hogwarts? What if one of its founders was more than just a great wizard, but the mastermind behind a dangerous ideology? In today's video, you will find out how Salazar Slytherin's influence still echoes through the wizarding world. The world of Harry Potter has seen many dark wizards, but few stand as tall as Salazar Slytherin, a founder of Hogwarts, a visionary, and a man whose ideas refused to die, even centuries after his time. But what made him so legendary, and why do generations of dark wizards still follow his path? Salazar Slytherin lived around the 9th or 10th century. Little is known about his origins, except for a single clue. He came from a swampy region, as mentioned in the Sorting Hat's song. Alongside three powerful wizards, he founded Hogwarts and became the head of Slytherin House, named in his honor. For years, he was the closest ally of Godric Gryffindor. But that friendship was doomed. Slytherin was obsessed with blood purity. He despised Muggle-born wizards and fought fiercely against their admission into Hogwarts. His beliefs clashed with the other founders. When no one supported him, he left the school, angry, betrayed, and unwilling to surrender his vision. But before leaving, he ensured his ideas would live on. Deep within Hogwarts, he built the Chamber of Secrets and placed a deadly creature inside, a basilisk, a serpent meant to purge the school of unworthy students. His plan failed in his lifetime, but his legacy of fear and elitism lived on. What happened to him after his departure remains a mystery. His direct bloodline vanished over time, but his descendants on the maternal side carried on his influence, some for good, others for evil. Salazar Slytherin was likely the most powerful wizard of his era, a master of the dark art, a skilled legilimens capable of reading minds, and a Parselmouth who could command serpents. His gift for speaking Parseltongue was so rare that only his true heirs could open the Chamber of Secrets centuries later. His influence didn't end with his death. His descendants shaped the magical world in ways he could never have imagined. Among them were the Gaunts, an infamous pure-blood family that clung to his beliefs. But one name stands out: Tom Riddle, later known as Lord Voldemort. Voldemort was the last known heir of Slytherin. His mother, Merope Gaunt, married a Muggle, shattering the blood purity her family worshipped. This betrayal fueled Voldemort's hatred and drove his obsession with ridding the world of those he saw as unworthy. And so, with Voldemort's fall, the bloodline of Salazar Slytherin seemingly came to an end. Unless, of course, you believe the controversial events of the Cursed Child. Salazar Slytherin was more than just a founder of Hogwarts. He was a visionary, a revolutionary, and a man whose ideas refused to die. Even centuries after his death, his influence lingers, shaping the beliefs of witches and wizards, fueling conflicts, and leaving behind a legacy as dark as the chamber he built. The legend of Salazar Slytherin stretches far beyond the walls of Hogwarts. His name became a symbol, whispered in the shadows by those who longed for a return to the old ways. Even after his bloodline disappeared, his influence remained, shaping the course of wizarding history in ways both seen and unseen. Many believe Slytherin's obsession with blood purity wasn't just an ideology, it was a warning. He feared that Muggle-borns would weaken magic, that their increasing numbers would bring chaos. But was he truly wrong? Over the centuries, magical bloodlines did diminish. Some ancient families vanished entirely, their magic fading with each new generation. The rise of Muggle influence threatened the secrecy of the wizarding world, forcing wizards and witches to retreat into hiding. Was this the future Slytherin tried to prevent? Despite his departure, his house at Hogwarts never wavered from his beliefs. Generation after generation, Slytherins carried the weight of his ideals, some embracing them fully, others trying to reshape them. While the school changed, Slytherin House remained a bastion of ambition, cunning, and exclusivity. The Sorting Hat continued to place those with great potential in its ranks, but a silent test always lingered. Were they truly worthy of Slytherin's legacy? Not all who carried his name were villains. Some descendants broke away from the pure-blood mania, seeking a different path. Isolde Sayre, who fled to America, chose to abandon her heritage, founding Ilvermorny as a place for all magical students, regardless of their blood status. But could she truly escape the shadows of her past? Her own descendants carried the blood of Slytherin, even if they no longer spoke of it. Then there were the Gaunts, a family so devoted to Slytherin's ideals that they spiraled into madness. They clung to their heritage, marrying among themselves to keep their bloodline pure. But in their obsession, they lost their strength. By the time of Marvolo Gaunt, Slytherin's once great lineage had reduced itself to little more than a group of raving, paranoid wizards living in filth and misery. The name of Slytherin, once spoken with reverence, had become a curse. And yet, from the ruins of this once mighty house, a new figure emerged, Tom Riddle, a boy who carried Slytherin's blood but was born into a world that rejected him. A child who should have been a prince but was instead abandoned in a Muggle orphanage. Perhaps that was Slytherin's greatest punishment, to have his final heir born from the very world he despised. But Riddle didn't see it as a punishment. He saw it as an opportunity. He embraced his ancestors' gifts, mastering Parseltongue, excelling in the dark arts, and seeking out the legacy of the Chamber of Secrets. He saw himself as the true heir of Slytherin, the one who would finally fulfill his vision. But unlike Salazar, who built Hogwarts with the hope of shaping the future, Voldemort only sought destruction. Perhaps that was where they truly differed. Slytherin may have hated Muggleborns, but he had a vision. He wanted to build a world where magic remained strong, where wizards ruled rather than hid. He wanted to create a future for those he deemed worthy. Voldemort, on the other hand, had no future in mind, only power, only fear. He warped Slytherin's dream into something monstrous. If Slytherin could have seen what his legacy became, would he have approved? Would he have accepted Voldemort as his heir, or would he have seen him as a failure, a pretender who used his name but abandoned his purpose? Perhaps the biggest irony of all is that Voldemort, despite his obsession with blood purity, was a half-blood himself. Slytherin may have wanted a world ruled by pure-blood wizards, but his final descendant was the very thing he hated, a contradiction that neither history nor time could erase. The Chamber of Secrets was meant to be his greatest secret, a hidden weapon that would one day cleanse Hogwarts. But in the end, it became nothing more than a myth, a forgotten piece of a lost era. When the chamber was finally opened again, it wasn't by a noble heir of Slytherin, but by a terrified girl under the control of a diary that held the soul of a boy who never truly understood the man he claimed to follow. Salazar Slytherin built a house, a legacy, a vision for the future. But history twisted his name into something else. Some saw him as a genius, a pioneer of magical greatness. Others saw him as a villain, a dark figure who planted the seeds of hatred. The truth is likely somewhere in between. His story didn't end with his death. It didn't end with Voldemort. Even now, centuries later, his mark remains. In the minds of those who still whisper about blood purity, in the ambitions of Slytherins who still seek power, in the echoes of a serpent's hiss beneath the castle floors. And perhaps, just perhaps, in the shadows of Hogwarts, his true heir is still waiting.